But I think that a lot of people, one of the reasons that so many people just kind of accepted that it was true is because they assumed that the government was regulating it all and assumed that government regulators were on the job protecting the fraud. And I think in general, government regulation does more harm than good for no other reason than it breeds complacency. I think the public, would have been a lot more skeptical of a Madoff had there been no SEC. Had there been no FINRA, had people realized that there are dishonest people, they might have done a better job. The free market might have done a much better job of policing this than the government did.
Yeah,
I think the bigger lesson here is that Ponzi schemes don't work, and they don't work when a private citizen tries it, but they also don't work when the government does it. Which means Social Security is going to meet the same fate.
That was my next
as
point.
Madoff.
That was my next point. But instead, the Ponzi scheme's gotten so big with, thousands of quadrillions or whatever globally, that when does that Ponzi scheme come due? Are we seeing the Ponzi scheme fall?
Yeah, I think we are. First of all, remember, there's a lot of naturally occurring Ponzi schemes in the market. The housing bubble was a Ponzi scheme. The stock market bubble was a Ponzi scheme.
Oil.
The whole idea is that you have a greater fool. The investment returns not come from the investment, but from cashing out to a greater fool. That's all Ponzi dynamic. Think about the way the United States operates its budget. We borrow money forever. The national debt always gets bigger. It never gets smaller. Whenever the debts mature, we have to go borrow more money to pay it off.
But the final equation
we have to make an interest payment, we have to go deeper into debt.
But in the final equation, that's what Dick Cheney says. He says, we have the nukes, and we can nuke the whole planet. He said that Sunday on Fox News. And he
did?
Yeah, well, he said the president is all-powerful. You can't question the president's power. After all, he's got the nuclear football.
So what does he mean by that? That if people don't want to buy our bonds, we're going to nuke them?
I don't know what that means. Every time he gives a speech now or talks, he just says the president's above the law. No one can question him. I can play you the clip if you want to hear it. The point is,
that's just nonsense, and it's very frightening that somebody is even saying that, and that and we're just allowing it.
But I think that's the delusional megalomania. And now Obama's coming in promising to give people millions of jobs and more taxes.
I like the way he changed his mind. He said, he's not going to do 2 million jobs, but 3 million jobs. So why not 5 million jobs? Why not 10 million jobs? Like he can just create jobs of however many he decides. That's how many he's going to create.
Mr. Schiff, he's not stupid. He may not be as smart as an economist or investor as you are, but they know that raising taxes is going to hurt the economy.
Well, they're not even planning on except they might raise taxes on employers, But they're not talking about big tax increases. They're just talking about printing money. See, the problem is they think that printing money and spending it is as good as actually earning it, or that wealth can come from a printing press. And they don't understand how legitimate wealth is created. They don't understand.
Where is this going? How bad? You say it's going to get very bad. What is very bad? 24 months from now, what's the United States look
very
like?
Bad very bad is runaway inflation. Very bad is shortages of basic goods, food and energy products that we now take for granted, becoming prohibitively expensive and hard to come by because of government in price controls, because of distribution problems. What we're looking at is sky-high interest rates for everybody but the government. The only people that are going to be able to borrow is going to be the government, and all they're going to be able to do is give us money that doesn't buy anything. We're talking about a situation where instead of worrying about Mexicans coming across the border, we're going to be worrying about Americans going in the other direction.
Well, that's already happening with a lot of wealthy people that see the writing on the wall.
Yeah, but wait till it's not just wealthy people. Wait till it's young people who are looking for opportunities and know they don't find any here because the government has stifled them all.
Well, that's my next issue.
When people had immigrated, second generation Americans start going back to their home country, where their parents came from, because there's more opportunities outside the United States than within. That's where we're headed.
Because the bureaucrats, like a horde of locusts, came to the United States and basically ate it down to the bone. I want to come back and talk about solutions, way to avert this, if it can be averted, or ways to individually protect ourselves in a final short segment with Peter Schiff. And we'll tell you about his website and more of the information he has, also his radio show that he does. But speaking of government solutions, they've announced 20,000 battle-hardened troops for Homeland Security for North America under NORTHCOM. The Army War College now says they are preparing to engage militarily the American people. The people try to remove the government in Washington in the spirit of 1776, that the military will engage us. Where do you see that going?
Excuse me, what did you say again? I thought I was going to a break.
No, I mean, we're going to go to break and then we're going to come back. But I was asking you briefly. You've heard about the plan, well, they're already doing it, to put 20,000 U.S. troops on the streets to engage the American people?
No, I hadn't heard about that.
Really? You haven't heard about that?
No. But, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, I mean, ultimately, as I said, I've been forecasting that there would be civil unrest and rioting in response to, government-created shortages and lack of opportunity. A lot of people are going to be losing their jobs in the next several years, and because of government policy, they're not going to find new jobs. And I think unemployed people who are hungry get very frustrated. And so maybe the government knows that this is going to happen. They're trying to get the troops in advance, on the streets in advance.
But, I mean... they've been quietly setting this up for decades, but now they announced NORTHCOM, Homeland Security is for the American people. That's quite a totalitarian shift, isn't it?
Yep, and it's a shift in the wrong direction, and we're headed there fast.
Okay, sir, there's several websites. Which one should we plug here on air?
My website, www.europac.net.
Yep, Europac.net. Peter Schiff is our guest. We'll put his website up on screen right now at prisonplanet.tv. Final segment with him straight ahead with some solutions. Stay with us.
Before you slip into unconscious.
The Little Book of Bull Moves and Bear Markets is his latest bestseller. Jim Rogers calls it a must-read book. Ron Paul says everybody needs to read it. Anyone wishing to know why the economy is in trouble should read this book. So you can check those out simply by Googling Peter Schiff or go to his website we have up on screen right now at prisonplanet.tv. Don't forget my websites are Infowars.com and prisonplanet.com. Okay, in the 4 minutes we have left with you, if we could fix government, what would be the good moves there to fix this? But obviously that's not going to happen. Secondarily, what can we do individually from your educated opinion, sir?
Well, individually is about the only thing we can do. I mean, we could try to influence the politicians, but it doesn't look like that's going to work. I mean, they've got us on this course. They're going to drive this bus right over the edge of a cliff. And, we can try to scream and get them to change course, but the bottom line is we're probably going to go over that cliff. So the best thing that we can do is try to get off the bus ourselves. And that's what I'm helping people do with their investments, with trying to understand that it's the dollar that's going to be the big casualty here, the value of our money. And that if people want to protect their wealth, if they don't want to be stuck footing the bill for all the bailouts and all the stimulus packages, they need to get their money out of U.S. assets. They need to be out of dollars, completely out of U.S. currency. That means out of money markets, CDs, bonds. If you can, out of U.S. real estate, I think out of most U.S. stocks. And move your money abroad. I mean, be in foreign currencies, be in foreign government bonds, corporate bonds, foreign stocks around the world, owning assets that earn their revenues and pay their dividends.
What about gold and silver?
Dollar. And certainly owning precious metals, owning gold, owning silver, having some physical gold in your possession, having more gold outside the United States, where it might be even safer, investing in mining companies. I mean, people have to understand and plan for what's going to happen. As bad as it's going to be, we can at least plan for it. We can at least try to minimize the impact on our own lives and our own finances, although in many respects, the way it's going to play out in our personal lives may way overshadow any success we might have.
I was about to say, I mean, crime is already exploding. How bad do you think it's going to get?
Well, look, I certainly think it's going to get worse as economic conditions worsen, and I don't think we're as civil as society. I mean, maybe I'm wrong here, but I don't think we're as civil as our grandparents were during the 1930s,
no,
and I don't think that the type of hardship that we're going to have is going to be greeted the way it was. I think we have an entire generation of dependency in this country of people who think they're entitled to something.
Well, sir, I think it's worse than that.
I think a lot of people are going to react very differently than the way our grandparents did.
I think it's worse than that. I mean, I agree with you. If 90% of our forebears were agrarian, and now we're 90% urban, even if they were nice people socially, how are they going to feed themselves? Yeah,
oh yeah, I mean, it's, as I said, it's going to be difficult, and it's already amazing in a nation that supposedly is so abundant, right? When it comes to food, 90% of our seafood is imported. I mean, it's crazy. We have all these oceans, 2 oceans. We have all these lakes, yet we import 90% of our fish.
Well, in closing,
now when the dollar collapses and that fish isn't coming in, it's not going to be there, and it's not like we got a bunch of boats and fishermen ready to go, to pick up the slack.
No, you're absolutely right. Well, I mean, take global warming in closing. Even if you believe that our breath, our breathing, and our cars and cow flatulence is killing the earth, moving everything to China and India where they have no standards is going to boost the level of those gases. So it's the same thing. Government is literally killing our economy.